Hi everybody, it's David Fleming here from the Toronto Realty Group, and welcome back to this week's Pick 5. Now this week I want to take a trip down to Liberty Village. Not actually, because I rarely leave my home, but now that I think about it, once in a while I did frequent the area. I worked out at the gym there back when we did CrossFit, because everyone had that phase of their life. And of course, earlier on in my career, I sold a ton of condos to first-time buyers in the area before it became what it is today, saturated. And I say that with all due respect to the folks that are still in the area. I do have many clients. The folks that I do represent that want to buy into that area are fine with it. But the number one critique of Liberty Village that I have found over the last couple of years is that it's become saturated. Now, to understand what Liberty Village was, let's say 10 or 15 years ago, it began with a set of townhouses that were essentially built in no man's land. Then along came the first condo, and the second and the third, and so on and so forth. Then came the infrastructure. For the longest time, you would look around, you'd say, this is a nice little village, as it was. You had a grocery store, you had the LCBO, you had the gyms, you had the banks. And then, of course, came the condo boom. Now, when you drive by on the Gardner, it's unrecognizable. There are so many condos in the area, and I did a video a couple of years ago where I went down there and I sort of filmed what was under construction. And at the time I had said, boy, I haven't been down here in a while. Look at how much it's grown. And the other day I went down there and I said, boy, I haven't been down here in a while. Look at how much it's grown even since I filmed that video. So excuse the preamble, folks. All that is to say that I still really like Liberty Village as an area. The feedback that I am getting is that it is congested, it is saturated, and there's only really one way in off of Strawn, which makes it difficult if you're driving. All the new condos that are built, they don't have parking spaces with the condos anyways. So I wanted to look today at a bunch of one-bedroom condos in the area, look at the different styles of buildings, how these units are being priced, how they're being sold, or not being sold, as we will see. So we'll take a look here at the map, and you can see what Google believes is Liberty Village. Okay, sure, it goes all the way over to Dufferin. For our intents and purposes, ooh, I like the zoom feature. The one on Treb's website just takes forever. Okay, slow, there we go. So here are your townhouses. And when we get into the listings, I will show you a better example. You have Lynn Williams, there's a park here, there's a few buildings. All of this here has all become condominiums. And then it even stretches over here to Ordnance, which was basically just a barren wasteland until a couple years ago when they built two massive towers. So it stretches all the way out to here. 5 Hanna, I would say, is the westmost building. Of course, 43 Hanna, the iconic Toy Factory lofts. We won't be looking at a unit there today because there are none for sale. But this is Liberty Village as it pertains to the residential area. Of course, Google extends it all the way out here where there are businesses, where there are artist studios and lofts and that sort of thing. But the units that we're going to look at are these ones here. So you can see we've got 2 units to look at over here in Western Battery, Lynn Williams. We've got one of the townhouses. One we're going to look at in what used to be a green space. This used to be a park, and then they built a condo on it. I don't want to see anything over here on Ordnance, and then we're going to go over to 5 Hanna. So why don't we do this? We will start there with 19 Western Battery Road. So this building was built in 2020. It is called Zen. I don't know if you're looking for Zen that you're going to find at this location. Now this building is 32 stories, it's 481 units, and what we can see here is for $399,999, we have a 453 square foot unit. It's funny because it says square foot source 460, above grade 453. I don't know what the discrepancy is there. Now as an entry level unit, it's not bad, and you can start to see, right, here's the townhouses, and then look at this. This is what I meant by the congestion, the saturation, and it's no different than many other areas like down by the Rogers Center, for example. But what Liberty Village was when it first came out was supposed to be that village. So you can see here, not staged, no furniture to speak of. We got a great view for what it's worth. You have the appliance wall, which people don't necessarily love, where you've got your lichen, your living room, dining, kitchen. Not a huge unit, but you do have a wall separating your living space from your bedroom. Some people watching this are like, well, I would hope so. Man, the comments on YouTube lately have been absolutely on fire, especially the condo ones. People all, they hate on it. They're like, I would never live there. It's like, well, okay. But if, you're in the Yukon, it's a bit of a different market here. Or, if you're renting a basement and you're like, I would never live in that condo. Okay, well, maybe you couldn't if you wanted to. So hate on it if you want to. Yeah, you can say no one wants to live in 453 square foot spaces, but I mean, there's a reason they're building them. It's expensive to build. It's an expensive city. And unfortunately or fortunately, we require this type of housing. So there it is, penthouse, and I'm going to skip the rest of the photos because I talked through all of the pictures of the unit itself. What I wanted to draw your attention to was this, $399, $999 list. Now I want to go, first we'll look at the map. So you can see here, as I mentioned, this teeny little sliver of land between Strawn and over here. Now this was, as I mentioned, this used to be like an open field. I said green space. It's not like it was a park, but people would cut across here to shave off some time in their commute to work, and then they built a condo next to it, of course. So that is the location. It is right next to what is a very busy street. But the comp here, guys, the comp, unit 1618. Scroll down here, work with me, 453 square feet. Scroll down here further and you can see this sold October 2nd. Now they listed for $399. They sold for $420. So our friend here listing for $399, check this out guys, offers February 10th at 6 p.m. So they're holding back offers. Are they going to get $420 based on the $399 like the last guys did? I don't think so. Now that was October, we're in February, it's not that big a difference, it's 4 months. But I don't think anyone is lining up to bid on a condo right now, irrespective of what this is worth. And at $399, they're listed for $883 a square foot. It's not terrible. This unit has no outdoor space, it has no parking space, it has no locker. The fees, they're okay at 87 cents, and it's got a great view. It looks clean and it looks new from the photos. It's a 2020 building, but of course, if it was tenanted, we don't know if those photos were taken before. Has it been beaten up over the last 5-6 years? Price point, $800, $875 a square foot. It's not bad. I don't think though that I would be the one to line up to bid necessarily. Not necessarily at all. Okay, so next one here, guys, 5 Hanna, unit 329. So this was built in 2013. It's only 8 stories, 295 units. This is the building that I have quoted so many times in my podcasts and my blogs that they were advertising for on the radio. They were marketing it as 18-foot ceiling lofts. And some of them do have an 18-foot floor-to-ceiling rise. Take a look at this picture, for example. You can see that floor-to-ceiling rise. But when I went in years and years and years ago and I took a photo of the distance between the end of the second floor and the windows, it was, I don't know, 4 feet. So technically you had an 18-foot ceiling if you happen to be standing right against the glass. It was a marketing gimmick. Some of the units look like that, some of them don't, and there's a big, big difference from one unit to the next in this building. So because these are 2-story units, I find that they're always going to get a little bit more attention. You could look at this here and say, okay, it looks long and narrow. It also stares out at the Toronto Parking Authority where they all park their cars. You know those guys, they write a lot of tickets. They get paid like $150,000 a year by the municipality that's just stealing from its constituents because they write, a good ticket writer I think can write 100,000 tickets a year. Anyways, okay, that's my libertarian view for now. So here you've got your little home office underneath the stairs. Now you can start to see, yes, they are long and narrow. They are all shaped like that. The kitchens, so here, okay, we've got a bit more distance left to right. Here, you've got a closet on this side, or I think that's the powder room rather, the powder closet. So you're kind of going sideways as you walk through it. It's 545 square feet. It's not a bad layout if you want 2-story and you want that big glass, but it gets really narrow here, and then this is going to feel a little bit low. This is essentially your entire dining area. It definitely opens up over here. See, you can see that 18-foot rise, and notice the distance from here to here is a lot bigger than some of the units I took photos and videos of. Oh, what are we talking? 13 years ago? Holy moly, when this building first came out. So I like the unit. We'll get into pricing in a moment. And there you can see the rise. So see, this one's totally different. There's a massive, massive distance between the bedroom here and the window. The units that I had taken photos of, and I just wish I could put a photo up right now. Maybe if I get really optimistic here, I'll go look through the archives and find it. Roar, said the tiger. Sorry, that's my ADHD. But those units do exist in this building. As I said, there's a big difference from one unit to the next. So pretty big bathroom. There you see upstairs bedroom, right? Broadloom was, regular finish back in 2013, unfinished concrete ceiling, that's fine. And if you want to have a bigger bed, get rid of the dresser, you can put a king, so it's a good size. Now you're really starting to see that you're staring at the roof of the Toronto Parking Authority. Did I already go off on a tangent about parking cops? Yeah, I did. So you got a little outdoor space, a little hibachi there. So we don't have the best view there. That's a really good look at the building itself. So guys, they're priced at $573,000. Okay, that's $1,051 a foot. $1,051 a foot. Now that sounds like a lot, but let's go to a comp here and we can see this sold for $535. Okay, well it had no parking. So let's add 40 grand and we're at 575, right, for 550 square feet. But when did this thing sell? Ah, right here. You see that? It sold in April of 2025 and the market's down. So we go back to our offering here. We'll take a look at our listing and you can see 67 days in the market at 573. Now the tough part about this listing is when we scroll down and we will go to the listing history, you can see that they were listed at 585, they were listed at 595, they were listed at 627, 559. Okay, bought in 2021 for 643. So this is very common in the market right now. We are seeing, obviously, the market has declined. We've rolled off that peak. I think it's a great unit. Location-wise, I don't mind this as much as I used to. It used to be kind of buried in Liberty Village. Now with all that congestion out there, I like that this is buried in Liberty Village. It's over on Hanna, which is a quieter street. So it doesn't have the great view. It might be a little bit narrow. And say what you want about the price because our comp was 575 in April of last year. But I think it's a good unit. I think it's got great ceiling height, great natural light, good first time buyer unit. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And we are ready to go. Is this Western Battery? Yes. Oh, this one's fascinating. Okay, this one's fascinating for all the wrong reasons. So 38 Western Battery. So here's where I'm talking about the townhouse complex. These were the first residential units in Liberty Village, and I still absolutely love them. But, and there is a but, my issue here is with the price. Now we're 575,000, 460 square feet. So that's $1,250 a foot. And it's hard to compare when you're looking at different products. Of course, this is a condo townhouse. We're looking at condo apartments. Maintenance fees, $359. Okay, it's 78 cents a square. It's not bad. In condo townhouses, be very, very careful. There are often rental items. Sometimes you look and you're like, oh, the maintenance fees aren't bad. And then you find out that you rent your hot water tank, your furnace, your air conditioner, your air handler. What is that? Picture a guy just kind of, yeah, he's the handler. Your heat pump. So sometimes it's upwards of $250 a month for all that stuff. I'm not saying it is or isn't in this unit or other ones like it, but be very careful when you look at any condo townhouses. So they do have an outdoor space. I will say that that is nice. They call it the terrace, right? We're lower level. Basement, lower level. You can put a barbecue, you can put a little patio set. You're lower level, but you walk out at grade, so it's not like you're actually in a basement. And, you know, decent layout, right? These are pretty much original finishes as it looks. You have a real bedroom for 460 square feet. Got room. Oh, your bike, okay. You got room if you wanted to for a little dining area here. If you have a smaller couch, pick your poison. Pick your poison. I don't know if that's the saying that we want. Okay, so then back here, we've got this green backsplash, that's original. We've got the black granite, that's original. Then we've got, oh God forbid, how did we deal without undermount sinks? We've got an overmount sink. My mom asked me on the weekend, there's a tangent, why, you say, every time you and your little brother would go and get ready for bed, there was just water everywhere. And I was like, well, Mom, we didn't have an undermount sink. The water had nowhere to go. Now I'm back into this talking about undermount sinks. Yes, how did we live? That was the point. My mom was like, how did you get by? But you can see the level of finish here. This tells you that this is 20 years old because they just don't make them like that anymore. They also don't do the black granite, and they sure as heck don't do this rounded corner here on the countertop. So I like the layout for 460 square feet. I like that you've got a little outdoor space. I love the location. I love the style because you're never gonna have any more condo townhouses built. The problem that I've got here, guys, you know, frankly speaking, see, that's an original finish, faux show. The problem, let's get to the photos first. I wanna get through these. How many photos can we see? Holy moly, keep going. All right, back to the beginning. The problem, guys, I have is the price. This is 575,460 square feet, and it does have parking. Now, if we were to go to our comp here, this is 435,000, and it has no parking. It's 450 square feet. So fine, let's add 40 grand for parking. You're at 475. 475. What? 575? Is that a typo? No, it's not. And then if you go to the next comp here, guys, 460 for 515 square feet. So this is 460 for 515 square feet. So then let's say that you were to swap the parking for the extra square footage and it's 460, but we're 575. So listen, once upon a time, yeah, it was worth it. But point I'm making in today's video is that there's a lot of properties that just aren't priced at market value, and it's worth what someone's willing to pay, but it's also worth what the comps are saying that it is. So love, love, love the offering, love the unit. The price needs some work. and then some. So 100 Western Battery Road. So this is a building that I put a lot of buyers into back in the day. And this exact unit, I recognize this, 615 square feet. Yeah, there it is. I knew off by heart. I know this model. I've sold this a bunch of different times. This is Vibe, and it was built in 2010. It's 24 stories. It's 314 units. So there's 618,000 for 615 square feet. The price is $1,005 a square. Is that high? We will come back to that. Now this is a 1-bed plus den, 1-bath. I've always liked the layout here because it's big and open. I remember selling this in the 300,000 range back in the day. You had at the time a really good view. It's not bad now. There's enough natural light. You need this here, this little chopping block to kind of separate the appliance wall kitchen from your couch, which of course is looking over to your TV, laid out in a linear way. But you're going to need that separation, which is what this does. Otherwise, you have the big appliance wall. Now, compare it to the first one that we saw that was a much, much smaller unit. Okay, there you've really got that lichen. Here you've got the space. And what I found in this was the den. Let's get to it. This den here. So I had a client that took this out and then they put their dining room in there. So it wasn't like you were eating in a den. If you took this wall out and this wall out, it just kind of felt like a natural extension of the living space. So to each your own, obviously, you can see here how much deeper this is than that first unit that we looked at. It's a really nice living, dining, kitchen space for what it's worth. It's got a higher ceiling. These photos are pretty good. They did a good job of it. But again, it's all going to depend on price in this market. So see, they got a really nice big long balcony. Whether or not you want to put in a legal barbecue, it's totally up to you. So here they've made, I called it a chopping block. They've made it into a dining. Yeah, if you want. I'd rather have that island. Where are you going to prep? Everyone's all about the prep. Where am I supposed to roll out the pasta to make my fresh noodles for spaghetti? I'm like, dude, if you got time for that, I don't know how you're paying the mortgage on the condo that you own. But again, don't want to oversell it, to each their own. So there you've got your little home office, which I said would be a great little dining nook. And they've got a huge, can't see it from there, but they had a really big IKEA unit in there. So take that out and you've got more space. So here you go, bedroom. There's not much to see other than the fact that they did the lights in the bulkhead. That's always a favorite of mine. People think you can't do that. You're gonna drill right through into the duct. No, there's usually space in there. It can be done. You just have to fish the wire through. We're doing that on our listing on Ridley right now. Got a serious construction job going on that place before we go to market. So there you can see the big terrace. Again, always like this unit. I sold this unit a bunch of times. This here will never go anywhere, knock on wood. It's heritage, I believe. That was a jail. So there's that. That's kind of cool. Yeah, there was a jail in Liberty Village. But because it's an old building and it's heritage, this view will likely always remain until something else comes up on the other side of it. Yeah, kind of still looks like a jail, giving off jail-ish vibes. So let's go to the map and I'll show you where we were, 100. And here you've got your little jail, of course. And this is where, East Liberty is where you've got just the most ridiculous amount of condos. But you do up here, you've got 80 Western Battery, 100 Western Battery, and 50 Lynn Williams. There are 3 buildings that were all built around the same time and sort of formed one of those complexes. And then you've got the park, for what it's worth. People, of course, you're having kids, you need a place to play. Liberty Village is getting a lot younger. Now here's our comp, guys. So this is 584,000. And right, 753 square feet. It's got a parking space. And where were we? We were 618,000 and we're 615 square feet. So if we're looking, and we are, because I'm doing that with you, 584,000 for 753 square feet. And we're listed for 618,000 for 615 square feet. Again, we're seeing a lot of units just not priced at market. And sometimes it depends on what they paid or when they bought, whether or not they need to sell. But if your neighbor sells for 550 and then your other neighbor sells for 554, why are you listing at $1 million? I wanted some hyperbole there, but you get where I'm going with that. So we'll keep moving here, guys. I can't believe we're already at the last one. This seems like a pricing exercise, but 50 Lynn Williams. I'll go to the map here first to show you where we are. 50 Lynn Williams, as I said, is right in between 100 and 80 Western Battery Road. They are the 3 buildings that were built together. Vibe was the 2010 100 Western Battery Road. This one was built in 2006 called Battery Park. I can't believe it was built in 2006. I'm gonna have a moment to think about how old I am. Okay, thanks, I'm coming back to earth. So also another building where I've put a lot of not only first-time buyers, but investors. I had a hockey player once, still plays in the NHL, not gonna name names, but sold him a 2-bed, 2-bath, like for investment. His dad was like, well, you know, now that you're making money, you gotta put it into something smart. Got him a unit in there, and he kept saying, when I live here one day, and I'm like, you're never gonna live here. It probably has an absolute McMansion, but it was funny. I'll never forget that. Did not play for the Leafs, by the way. So yeah, still has that unit actually. It's gone way up in value and then back down. And what it's like to be a landlord and happen to play in the NHL at the same time, no, I'm sure the family's probably running it. But I've had a lot of investors in there over the last couple of years. I like the location. It's close enough to the actual village with your infrastructure. As noted, I'm not a fan of the stuff over on the other side of Strawn. The stuff on East Liberty, from an investment perspective, it's just the tenant pool. You're gonna think that they don't care, beggars can't be choosers. No, trust me, they do. Anyways, I've said enough. I love these locations here. 100 Western Battery, 80 Western Battery, and 50 Lynn Williams. So the unit itself we will go to. I chose this because it is a two-story unit. 718 square feet for $619,000. That's $860 a square. It's not bad. The problem here, guys, these maintenance fees at $800, that's $1.12 a square. I don't know that I love that. So we've got a two-piece bath in the main. We've got a four-piece bath upstairs. And it kind of reminds me of, if we could just to say we did here, guys, go back to our first one, well, it was actually our second one at 5 Hanna, 545 square feet, 573,000. You've got your two-piece on the main and your four-piece upstairs. And then you go back to here, and granted, different building, different location, we have our two-piece in the main, our four-piece upstairs. We're 619,000 and we're 718 square feet. See how we have to compare and contrast? Now, do you care that this is 2006, the other one's 2013? Probably not. Do you prefer this location, 50 Lynn Williams to 5 Hanna? Maybe yes, maybe no. But let's take a look at the flow of this one, because the difference between 545 square feet and 718 is massive. Now, I will say I enjoy the presentation of this unit. Very nicely staged, and good job by the agent, because I can almost guarantee this is not how this unit would have looked when he or she first went in to take a look. You can always tell when it's staged when there's no TV. Not to say that people don't own TVs, but everyone owns a TV. What movie is this from? Do you own a television? Yeah, we got 2 of them. Wow, are you rich? No one owns 2 televisions. Back to the Future? Remember he goes back to the 50s and no one owns 2 TVs in the 50s. Okay, cool. One person got that reference, and you are probably a 45-year-old man. All right, so the rest of photos, here's where we get very artsy. Did we not just have a photo of, yeah, like this is, you know, we're going sideways now. We're going portrait, we're going landscape, ooh la la. That's literally just, that's like front of a design magazine or something. But good on them, because they are trying to think outside the box and market. So we've got a galley kitchen, which is kind of funny, because when would you see a galley kitchen in a condo? But it's really good space. And then let's get over to the stairs. Keep going. Yeah, cabinets are a bit worn. Okay, so here's the stairs. So not as open concept and not as new as the one at 5 Hanna. There you got your pedestal sink, which my mother, of course, how many times can you talk about your mother in one video? My mother used to say pedestal sinks, they're useless because there's no storage underneath them. Very true, Mom, very true. Okay, and then you've got room up here definitely for the king-size bed. So two-story, right? $618,000. It's a lot bigger. Was it 619, and it was 718 square feet. So as I said, $860 a square. Here you can start to see, what would my mom think of this sink? Uh-oh, you have to do a shot. Every time he mentions his mother, you have to do a shot. So what would you think of this sink? I don't know, but definitely dated. And yeah, separate shower tub. I don't know that I need a separate shower tub. I'm good with just one place to conduct bathing. I'm fine with that. So here's a little outdoor space you're probably not going to use. But if you're looking for a 2-story unit, and I did a pick 5, I think it was last week on 2-story units, I could have put this one in there. 2-story units are popular. You want a little bit of separation between your living, dining, kitchen, and your bedroom. You know, you grew up in a house and you're thinking, I don't want to have a little, shoebox in the sky. At least here you've got the 2 stories. So let's take a look, guys, at our comp for this one. And our comp, well, 50 Lynn Williams unit 411, 630,000 for 700 square foot unit. Okay, and is this 2-story as well? Yes, this is 2-story. So there's 630,000, and this thing sold when? It sold in January of last year. So I will say this, they're 619, they're lower than their comp, but probably not low enough. So the moral of the story, guys, today, as far as Liberty Village goes, is that if you're looking in the area, you've got to understand that it is in fact saturated, it is in fact congested, and you've got to want that, you've got to invite that, you've got to want to be in a busy area. You have a lot of friends that live down there, a lot of coworkers that live down there. You're living there specifically because of proximity to work. You've got to understand that no, this is not the little village that it once was, and I'm not knocking it. There are people that want a vibe and they want action, and that's why you're going there. The second thing I will say is, as far as these listings go, Pricing, it's everything. And we've got condos right now that are on the market, and I mean, I got a phone call from a guy today that was like, hey, I've got a client interested in your unit. And I was like, is this a joke? No, I'm kidding. But it is that kind of market. It's tough out there. And we've got a unit, it's well priced, it's well presented. These people are losing money, right? They bought when the market was higher. They're gonna go buy a house somewhere and they'll make it up on the other side. But the point is, there are those folks that are listed at prices that are gonna get calls from agents, and there are those folks that are listed at prices that are simply going to help other agents and other sellers sell their units. And it is up to you, the consumer, to decide which is which. So that's it for me, guys, for this week. Thank you for watching as always. Feel free to drop me a comment in the YouTube comments section below, nasty or otherwise. Tell me why these condos are all going to drop in value by 98%. I always love reading the absolute delusion and fantasy that exists in the YouTube comments section, but that's a topic for another day. If you'd like for Pick 5 to be emailed to you directly every week when we launch, go to torontorealtyblog.com, click on Pick 5, sign up, and you'll receive an email every time an episode is published on YouTube. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you here next time. Bye for now.